away we go. First episode recorded in the year 2026.
We gonna talk about the elephant in the room?
Where's the elephant? Yes, of course. And something might have to change because I noticed in the recording you can see the giant ring light right in the reflection.
Because it's so dark.
Yep. But that's all right. Christmas present from you and your sisters.
Mainly just a shame.
Mainly her. But she did it with AI. It's me and the boys having a cold one. Bigfoot, me, Mothman, and Wendigo.
But Wendigo's a lonely guy. He's not choosing.
Yeah, he's a little standoffish. I think that's typical with Wendigo.
You can't really tell, but O'Shan said that it AI'd you with two open eyes. She had to color that in.
That's funny.
There's Sharpie on there.
That's all right.
You can barely tell.
It's cool. It's fun. It'll be there. And I'm just going to have this crazy giant ring in the video. Unless I go like this. That's the elephant in the room. We took a mild break during the break.
Yeah.
To break.
And I have school tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Back to work, back to school. Back to the old grind. We should talk about what that phrase means. We should do phrases in an episode. Back to the grind. And then junk in your trunk. When pigs fly. I don't know. Goofy stuff like that. We'll come up with some stuff, but
once in a blue moon.
That's it. And that's actually a literal thing. A blue moon is the second full moon in a calendar month.
Because usually in our calendar, the English calendar,
Gregorian. We'll talk about that in a future episode.
Is that a different calendar?
No, that's the calendar that the world, well, not the entire world, but generally most use is the what's called the Gregorian calendar. Actually, I just took the notes for how did the months get their names, but that's 2 episodes from now.
Yeah.
Anyway, blue moon, 1 month. What are you saying?
Usually there's only one full, what's it called?
Moon cycle?
Yeah. One cycle per month.
So whatever the phase is at the beginning of the month, that'll be the phase at the end of the month. Kinda.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is. Quarter moon. Oh, waxing quarter moon will be a waxing quarter moon when at the end of the month. Kinda.
Either that
sorta.
or waning.
Yeah, waxing, waning, whatever it is.
Alternates.
Yeah, whether it's a quarter moon on the right side or if it's a quarter moon on the left side.
Yeah. Waxing this side.
Wax on.
Wane off.
Right. Yeah. Moon phases.
We're not talking about moons.
No. This was going to be the episode at the end of the year, going out with a bang, and I think it's our first, I think we've touched on true crimey stuff here and there, but this is
true
straight up murder.
Yeah. Cannibalistic murder.
Hashtag true crime. We're going to do it.
Hashtag red rum.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. You know where that's from?
Yeah. The Shining.
Yep. There you go.
I'm pretty sure somewhere in that hotel that it was shot in, there's this attic place and it says red rum somewhere.
Was it the Stanley in the story or is it the Stanley in real life? I don't remember. It's in Colorado, I'm pretty sure.
I think it was both in real life and because it's definitely the Stanley Hotel. Because was it the author, or was there a Shining book before the movie?
Yeah, Stephen King.
Okay.
And then the sequel is Doctor Sleep. That's a movie too.
It was either Stephen King or Doctor Sleep.
Okay. The Shining movie was directed by Stanley Kubrick. If that means anything to you.
But one of them was like sleeping in the Stanley Hotel and like dreamt of The Shining. Like dreamt of that story. And then
the hotel that inspired Stephen King's The Shining is the historic Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, famous for its paranormal activity, but the iconic Overlook Hotel in the popular movie version was a composite with exterior shots filmed at Oregon's Timberline Lodge. Stanley Hotel was the inspiration, and in the story it was the Overlook.
am I going to the Stanley Hotel?
Sure.
I want to stay in the Stanley Hotel.
But you might have experiences.
I want to have experiences.
Me too, kind of. As long as it's not hostile. Get scared.
There's a little girl
scarred.
ghost
That's
who
it.
died on the stairs. Like she fell down the stairs and died.
That's not good.
Pretty sure it was the owner's daughter,
Oh, crap.
Stanley.
We could probably do some kind of history of the Stanley Hotel. That would be fun. The Winchester House would be fun.
PA State Penitentiary.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Penhurst Asylum, is that what you're talking about? Or is that a different one?
I think that's a different one because that's an asylum, but the state penitentiary, I think, is a jail.
Okay. So many things we could go down.
We could also do the Hill House.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a good one.
Yep. We're not talking about any of those things in this episode, though.
Still true crime. Paranormal true crime.
Could be. We're just straight up historical facts. You're Phoenix, I'm Will, and we're here to bring on the questions.
Yes, we
Where
are.
am those links?
Linktree.com/BOTQS.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, YouTube, TikTok,
Instagram.
bunch of things. Find them there.
Yeah. If you want to find all the links, because I'm sure we haven't listed all of them, just look up linktree.com/BOTQS.
We haven't started a merch store yet, but we could. We need to talk about where we want to start it. TeePublic, which I think is Dashery now, or Printful, or Redbubble, or all of them, because people like all of them. Or Etsy, but that means we have to make it.
Shopify. You can always do that.
What is it?
Shopify.
Add it to whatever website-ish thing. Anyway, Miss Phoenix, what question are we bringing in this episode?
Dense.
Like a dunce. It's different.
But it's Vince Li. Dense. Did Vince Li go Wendigo?
Oh, yes. True crime, baby.
Yes.
What do you think? Before we get into it, I don't know how much you actually know about the whole case, but
You told me the story.
I told you a lot without reading all the notes, without going through the actual details of the notes. But what do you think? Before we get through all the notes and whatnot, and by the end, we'll see what you think. But what do you think before the notes?
I mean, what you have told me, he didn't eat the entire person.
No.
He only ate like an ear and an eye.
Right.
Which the eye is weird.
Snacks. It's got jelly in it.
Slimy and gross.
Hey, man. When God tells you stuff to do, then You
I don't think that was God.
you get that gusher eyeball right in your mouth.
I don't want to think of an eyeball as a gusher.
That's what it is, though.
If I'm going to think of it as any candy, I'm going to think of it as those little globe things with the jelly inside, like the
Like
juice.
a gusher.
Not gusher. They're like marshmallow texture.
But it's slimy.
It's more so sticky because they're gummies.
Have you tasted eyeballs before?
No, I've tasted the little globe things. They were popular. They were very popular.
For 10 minutes.
What?
They were popular for 10 minutes. Anyway, let's get started. The incident involving Vincent Li and Timothy Richard McLean on a Greyhound Canada bus in 2008 represents one of the most sensational and disturbing criminal cases in modern Canadian history. Occurring on the evening of July 30th, 2008, near Portage la Prairie, Manitoba, the random attack led to the stabbing, beheading, and subsequent acts of cannibalism targeting the 22-year-old victim, Tim McLean.
The legal determination of the case centered not on the commission of the act, which was undisputed, but on the perpetrator's mental capacity to form criminal intent. In March 2009, Vince Li was found not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder, NCRMD. A verdict based on compelling psychiatric evidence that he was suffering from undiagnosed and untreated schizophrenia. The voices.
Yep, we're going to talk about the voices soon.
The core motive driving the violence was established as a severe acute psychotic episode wherein Li harbored firm delusions that McLean was a demon or alien, and that Li had received a divine command from God to kill the victim to save humanity.
Well, he did it. We're here. He saved us all.
I don't know about that.
You don't think so? You don't think he's the hero of the story?
I think he's quite the opposite.
You don't think that there's a parallel universe where Vince Li decided to go against the word of God and did not kill Tim McLean that day? And there's an entire parallel universe where Tim McLean turned into a demon.
If there was a divine command, I don't think it was God. I think it was the opposite.
Oh. So the demon convinced Vince Li that the angel was a demon. And that's why we're living in the world we're living in today.
Yeah.
So then in the other parallel universe that I was talking about, there's actually that he did not kill Tim McLean, so that world is better. Is that what you're saying? Because the angelic Tim McLean lived to see another day, and Vince Li sought help before he committed the atrocious crime. Is that what you're saying?
It makes sense.
Somewhere it makes sense. The fatal attack occurred during a cross-country bus journey, spanning from approximately 8:30 p.m. on July 30, 2008 to 1:30 a.m. on July 31st, 2008. The location, a segment of Trans-Canada Highway approximately 30 kilometers west of Portage la Prairie, became the place of extreme violence. The victim, Timothy Richard McLean, was a young carnival worker returning home to Winnipeg. The nature of the attack was characterized by extreme brutality, homicide, stabbing, decapitation, and acts of cannibalism using a knife. The immediate public response to the horrific details of the crime, specifically the dismemberment and consumption of human remains, was shock and profound outrage, creating an environment of significant pressure on the subsequent legal proceedings.
The subsequent legal process focused entirely on the mental state of Vincent Li, who was 40 years old at the time of the offense. The key to the NCRMD verdict was the consensus among both defense and prosecution experts, supported by the presiding judge, John Scofield, that Li's cognitive functioning was entirely compromised by schizophrenia. Li was deemed incapable of appreciating the nature and quality of his act or knowing that it was legally and morally wrong because his reality was governed by complex, commanding hallucinations and paranoid delusions.
So he had the way that reads is he had no idea what he was doing. He was just going through the motions of the heinous act.
He listened to the voices.
And the voices said, cut, consume.
This is how you'll get into heaven. You just gotta eat one tutorial on how to get into heaven. While you're on the bus going to Winnipeg, cut one person's ear off and scoop out their eyeball and just watch those ones.
It's the weirdest angelic promo for heaven.
And it's just got ominous music behind it.
Ominous music?
Yeah.
You're sure it's not like heavenly?
Like it's
horns and all that?
It's supposed to be heavenly, but it's ominous.
It's just darkness behind it.
Yeah.
Profound disparity between the legally justifiable NCRMD verdict, which prioritizes clinical incapacity, and the extreme brutality of the acts, decapitation, cannibalism. Pretty soon, decapitation and cannibalism will lose all of its meaning because we're going to say it so much. Created an inevitable and enduring conflict with public expectations of retributive justice. The criminal justice system adherent to the principle that it is inappropriate to punish individuals who lack the capacity to form criminal intent at the time of the offense resulted in a strong socio-political backlash that would later influence national legislative reform.
I saw justice and I immediately thought for justice.
Like Batman?
Yeah.
Justice.
Imagine that was Mothman.
What was Mothman?
He was Batman. Just light.
Just light. That's what he seeks. That's what he's addicted to.
Light.
Lamp.
Any lamp we can find. That's why that's reflecting, because that's Mothman's light.
Of course. It's a little bit lower than Mothman.
It's okay. It is crucial to establish the primary clinical facts. Li's official, court-accepted diagnosis is schizophrenia, a universal mental disorder. Okay, I thought I was gonna burp. The suggestion of Wendigo psychosis, a culturally defined syndrome, stems solely on the shocking act of cannibalism and the Canadian geography where the crime occurred. A critical distinction exists between Li's recorded delusional content, which involved external commands, God, and the protective execution of a threat, demon/alien, and the traditional characteristics of WP, where the central motive is an internalized, compulsive, starvation-rooted craving for human flesh. You're gonna be craving human flesh when you're running on heaven. So that's why you cut off your ear and eyeball and just go munch. It's the craziest tutorial ever.
Tutorial to get into heaven.
According to Vince Li. This fundamental difference acts as the primary clinical demarcation point, grounding the discussion in forensic fact while proceeding with the detailed theoretical comparison required by our question.
So, according to that, it wasn't Wendigo psychosis because it was there were circumstances that don't connect with Wendigo psychosis. He got a voice command by God, and there was a threat of a demon or alien, so he didn't just transform into this Wendigo to vanquish said evil. Wendigos work slightly differently than that.
Wendigos work when they're so hungry that they just devour humans.
Right. So this was not a case of Vince Li being super duper hungry. He was just acting upon a command from God. So he says.
Because in other stories that, like in our first Wendigo episode, it has a story of a guy eating his whole family.
It's Swiftrunner, yeah.
And it was just the bones.
They were left.
Yeah, and there were teeth marks on the bones.
He had a lot of time to do his thing.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of days of winter.
A lot of days of hunger.
Vince Li just had a few hours on a bus.
Yeah, and he only ate an ear and an eye. It's not very Wendigo of him.
It's not very Wendigo of you, bro. A thorough understanding of the homicide requires examining the personal history and rapid mental decline of Vincent Li leading up to the incident. Vincent Li was an immigrant to Canada, having arrived from China in 2001, so 7 years before the incident. His cultural and ethnic background is significant because it establishes his separation from the Algonquin cultural traditions that form the basis of the Wendigo mythology. So, does that mean that Wendigo are racist?
Is it 7 or 8? Because wasn't it in 2009?
8? July of 8? Wasn't it?
Oh. Guess it does say 2008. I thought it said 2009. So yeah, 7.
So if you're Chinese, you can't be Wendigo because it's Indian. Right? You can't. You can only go Wendigo if you are of the culture.
Was Swiftrunner?
Yeah, man. He was total, like, Algonquin dude.
I think Vince Li was just a little crazy.
So not Wendigo. Crazy.
No. Because he didn't do the full thing.
Okay. So now you're convinced the other way. Oh, wait. What'd you say in the beginning? Wendigo or not?
I don't know. I didn't really say anything.
Okay.
But I was thinking, like, not, because he didn't eat the full thing. And usually, if you're going Wendigo, you're so hungry. He also only ate one person.
Everybody else ran away. Then they locked him on the bus. I guess if you have the voice of God in your head, you can't break out of a bus. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Good to know that the bus windows were super strong.
Stronger than Vince Li, that is.
Yeah.
With the voice of God in his head. Not necessarily the power of God, just the voice.
Just the voices.
Right. Well, there was only one demon alien that needed to be vanquished at the time, so there we go.
That's not screaming Wendigo to me.
Okay. Keep going. Sorry.
Li experienced escalating signs of psychosis or severe predominant schizophrenia in the weeks immediately preceding the attack. His stability began to fracture under increasing professional and personal strain. Approximately 4 weeks before the killing, Li was fired from his job at Walmart following a conflict with a colleague. Maybe he was hearing voices too. At that time.
Could be.
It was like, you're a demon, I'm gonna...
Walmart people. He'd spend too much time in Walmart. around the Walmart people.
Yeah, Walmart people are crazy. He subsequently requested time off from his delivery job, citing a job interview in Winnipeg, which was later determined to be non-existent.
So the guy who was, I would imagine he was a good employee at Walmart, also had a delivery job, which is probably stressful, having two different jobs. But then he lies to the delivery job saying he has a job interview in Winnipeg. What are you doing, Vincent Li? What happened? The swift transition from being a relatively functional immigrant, holding down employment and maintaining a residence, to a perpetrator of extreme psychotic violence emphasizes the catastrophic speed of his psychological decline, underscoring the extreme vulnerability inherent in undiagnosed, untreated schizophrenia. This clinical collapse was confirmed by his actions on July 24 when he left the home he shared with his ex-wife, leaving a note that read, "Don't look for me. I wish you were happy." While his ex-wife initially dismissed this, his clarification on July 26 that he would not return signaled a profound and irreversible detachment from conventional life structure indicative of severe mental disintegration.
On July 30th, 2008, Tim McLean was aboard Greyhound bus 1170.
There you go.
Traveling from Edmonton back to his home in Winnipeg. After the bus departed Erickson, Manitoba, at 6:55 p.m., a new passenger named Vince Li boarded. Li initially sat near the front, but after a rest stop in Brandon, he relocated to the seat beside McLean, who was asleep by the window with headphones on. McLean reportedly offered little acknowledgement to the new passenger.
So the voice of God was like, "You were in the wrong seat. At your earliest convenience, walk back there to the young man wearing headphones." The scene quickly devolved into horror. According to accounts, Li abruptly produced a large knife and attacked the sleeping McLean, stabbing him in the neck and chest. The driver halted the bus immediately and everyone on board fled. A rescue attempt by the driver and two men was thwarted when Li locked doors and slashed at them. Li then decapitated the victim and terrifyingly displayed the head to the passengers waiting outside. He spent the next few hours dismembering the body and consuming some of the flesh, a gruesome act that lasted for the duration of the standoff.
I don't think the sleeping headphoned young man stood a chance.
No, he was tired from all of his carnivaling.
Yeah. Being a circus clown and all that.
No, he was a circus clown. He was just a carny. He pushed the go button on the Ferris wheel, and then he pushed the stop button on the Ferris wheel.
Whoop. So tiring. I
Exactly.
just can't get away. I just can't get some rest. Hardest job ever.
Yeah. He was tired. He had headphones on. He didn't want to be disturbed. And he had angelic voices speaking in his head. No, demonic voices speaking in his head. Well, if he was the demon that had to be slain.
Yeah, he was listening to rock music.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne? Was it Guar?
Crazy Bus.
Crazy Bus. Was he listening to Guar?
Party Bus.
Maybe Slipknot.
Party in the USA?
No, that was Canada.
Maybe he dreams of going to the USA and experiencing a fair. 4th of July fair.
He was going home to sleep some more.
He was dreaming of going to USA. That's why he was listening to Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus.
You're royally messing up the flow of the story. We're in midst of him decapitating, and you're talking about Miley Cyrus.
She's so relevant right now. Right now to the story, she's the most relevant.
No, she was like 12.
At 8:30 p.m., the RCMP in Portage Portage la Prairie were alerted to a stabbing incident on Greyhound bus located west of the city. Upon arrival, officers found the suspect still confined inside the bus. The driver, another passenger, and the truck driver, who had supplied a crowbar and hammer, were actively preventing his escape. The remaining traumatized passengers were gathered roadside, with many exhibiting distress, crying and vomiting.
Yep.
Yeah, I would want to.
Mm-hmm.
See someone eat a eye.
And just decapitate somebody? I mean, that would probably do me in. No, get that picture out of your head. Keep reading.
The bus itself was immobilized, as the driver had previously engaged the emergency system after the suspect attempted to drive the vehicle away. Just open up the hood and smash the engine.
I think it's a little bit more refined than smashing the engine. There's a whole emergency system to disengage bus going places. The bus driver can do that.
Tediously take the engine out.
Yeah, taking his time.
Well, everyone holds
Picked
him.
it up by himself. Yeah, that's what he did.
Yeah. It's just a little thing. It's just
in the front right there. And fits right there. It's fine. By 9 p.m., the police initiated a formal standoff, calling in specialized negotiators and a heavily armed tactical unit. During the confrontation, the suspect was observed pacing the length of the bus and desecrating the victim's remains. Officers later confirmed seeing Li consuming parts of the body. Furthermore, RCMP personnel reportedly heard Li utter the statement, "I have to stay on the bus forever."
So is there a portal on the bus?
No, it's his eternal prison.
No, portal for spirits.
Oh, I think Spirit's pretty good getting through matter on Earth. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Like ways for other spirits to travel to places. Portals. Scrying mirrors or portals.
I mean, yeah, it could be. Maybe it had something to do with the bus numbers.
1170. The evilest number.
Yeah.
The standoff concluded on July. Where'd it go?
How'd you mess that up?
Because this.
Because this.
The little scrolling thing. I accidentally hit
it.
that. The standoff concluded on July 31st, 2008 at 1:30 a.m. When Li attempted to escape the bus by breaking a window, RCMP officers quickly moved in to make the arrest, subduing Li with 2 taser shots before handcuffing him and placing him in a police cruiser.
Finally.
Excuse me. Inside the bus, investigators recovered dismembered body parts and placed in plastic bags. Further searches revealed the victim's ear, nose, and tongue in Li's pockets. Though Li vehemently denied it, the victim's eyes and a portion of his heart were never found and are presumed to have been consumed by the suspect.
See, that's how you fully vanquish a demon/alien that's invaded a human body, is to snack on part of their heart.
Tasty. Raw heart. Raw human heart.
Yes. Delicious, isn't it?
Your eyes taste like marshmallows.
You cut the tongue off and was like, save that for later, stuff it in my pocket. I'm gonna need that for a snack later. Ear, nose, and tongue.
Yummy. Some cartilage for later.
We're damaged, you know?
Yeah. But like you said, if you can make humor about it, you'll understand it pretty well.
Dark humor. In the aftermath, the traumatized stranded passengers were transported from the scene to the Brandon RCMP detachment for interviews. Following morning, July 31, 2008, at 10 a.m., Greyhound representatives assisted the passengers by taking them to a local store to replace the clothing they had left on the bus. Later that afternoon at 3:30 p.m., the group finally reached Winnipeg, where they were reunited with their waiting families and friends. Was that nice? Way to go, Greyhound. Got everybody all set up.
Except for Tim McLean.
Now he's Tim McDirty.
He's Tim McNomore.
Oh, there you go. That's it. Do you know what RCMP stands for?
Not really.
Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Oh.
Yep, they ride moose to their emergency situations.
Yeah.
No, they don't ride moose.
Moose mounted.
Elk.
Reindeer.
No, I don't think they practice that kind of stuff anymore. Well, maybe in some far off places they still.
Probably in Texas they ride horses.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police ride horses in Texas. Yep.
Yeah. We're in Texas, but the Morley are CMP. We're in Texas.
I don't think you fellas got any authority in our location. Y'all just need to head right on up north.
Yeah.
Maybe they could use your help in Oklahoma.
Just in Oklahoma. Maybe South Dakota. Not North Dakota.
Not North Dakota. No, not where Mount Rushmore is. You take care of South Dakota stuff.
Yeah. South
CMP
Dakota
is
is
different.
It's warmer than North Dakota.
Is it?
I don't know.
Is it?
It's south.
So, obviously,
Obviously.
it's slightly more down, closer to the equator. So, obviously, it's warmer in South Dakota than it is in North Dakota.
Yeah. It doesn't snow in South Dakota. It only snows on the border of North Dakota. It doesn't snow in South Dakota.
All right. Keep this train going.
Garrett Canton.
Garnett?
Garnett Caton, a witness, said the attacker seemed unaware of others when the stabbing occurred, adding he was struck by Li's calm demeanor. Quote, there was no rage or anything. He was like a robot, stabbing the guy. Unquote, he said.
That's crazy. So he's just like
slash, Terminator.
Slash.
Just.
No emotion. Poker face. The immediate apprehension of Li confirmed a state of acute psychosis. He was completely detached from reality, believing with absolute certainty that his actions were necessary to fulfill a divine mandate. He perceived himself not as a murderer, but as a hero saving the world, suggesting he expected to be met with approval, which powerfully illustrates his complete and fundamental loss of insight into the reality of his actions. Dude, you just diced up a dude. Snagged on parts of him. And you're the hero?
You saved some for later. It's like, I love some good cartilage.
Heroes don't save any for later. Is that what you're saying?
Just eat an entire turkey.
Whole thing.
He's gonna roast him in the oven like a turkey.
Roast him.
Christmas dinner? Anyone?
They didn't have air fryers back then, so he'd have to put the tongue, nose, and ear in a tray in the oven.
He puts it in a jar for later. Pickles it.
Ooh, there you go. Pickled nose. Tongue.
He could cut the tongue into two, and it's two muscles.
That's it. Then you're like gummy worms. Flopping around.
Muscle memory.
Maybe we have psychosis right now, because we're laughing at all the parts of this.
Dark humor is the best humor.
Is that how you get into heaven?
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
The forensic evaluation established that Li's motive was purely delusional and defensive in his psychotic world. He felt pressured by voices he believed originated from God, instructing him to kill McLean, who he believed was a threatening entity, a demon or alien, lest he himself be killed.
Bro, Tim's leaning against the bus window, napping. Don't think he's a threat.
Ain't not doing anything. He's quite literally unconscious.
Yes. But he's a threat. That needs to be vanquished.
He needed to go into deep sleepy night-night.
Oh, like the forever sleep.
Yeah.
Right. That's what Vince thought. Keep going.
He's not sleeping hard enough. The specific detail that Li believed he was attacking an alien in addition to a demon reveals the modern, cross-culturally influenced form of psychosis. Schizophrenic delusions often incorporate elements present in the patient's societal environment. The inclusion of alien elements confirms that Li's pathology was based on his personal, idiosyncratic belief system and contemporary cultural themes, for example, alien invasion, positioning his psychosis firmly outside established ancient culture-bound templates.
The acts of cannibalism and the display of remains suggest Li viewed the victim's physical body as intrinsically tied to the malevolent entity. The consumption was likely part of a delusional process of eliminating, neutralizing, or absorbing the power of the perceived threat, reinforcing the primary paranoid motivation of elimination rather than the satisfaction of an innate hunger drive. Post-treatment, Li, later Will Lee Baker, demonstrated profound retrospective insight, acknowledging that his brain had been playing tricks on him and expressing remorse and regret. This confirms the psychiatric cause of the crime, rooted in the biochemical realities of psychosis.
The disposition of the Vince Li case provides a crucial examination of the application and philosophical underpinnings of Canada's NCRMD regime. The verdict of not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder is defined by Section 16 of the Canadian Criminal Code, CCC.
Yes. They like playing with their acronyms like that.
I like their play on words. This section stipulates that a person cannot be held criminally responsible for an act committed while suffering from a mental disorder that rendered them incapable of appreciating the nature and quality of the act or knowing that it was wrong.
So if you don't know that it's wrong, it's okay? Is that what I'm hearing?
So he thought he was getting into heaven by eating part of his heart? So he's not guilty.
He's fine.
Yeah, let him just go get evaluated. No jail time for you.
The legal philosophy underpinning NCRMD focuses on capacity. Punishment is deemed inappropriate if the individual lacked the capacity to form criminal intent, mens rea. In Li's case, the court recognized that his delusional state precluded him from recognizing the moral or legal wrongfulness of the decapitation and cannibalism, leading to the consensus among legal parties for involuntary commitment rather than traditional incarceration.
Following the 2009 verdict, Li was remanded to a high-security section of the Selkirk Mental Health Center in Manitoba. This commitment initiated a process intended to be therapeutic, not punitive, guided by periodic review boards. Li's treatment path demonstrated remarkable success. His psychiatrist, Dr. Stephen Kremer, testified before the Criminal Code Review Board that the previously undiagnosed schizophrenic had achieved excellent progress. No longer suffered from delusions and had not displayed violent tendencies. This successful clinical outcome, the stabilization of the patient via medication, became the necessary legal prerequisite for all subsequent steps toward release, demonstrating the system's reliance on clinical risk mitigation.
It boggles my mind that he totally destroyed this guy, and they're like, so you didn't know what you were doing? You had no emotion?
You weren't there?
And you were totally convinced that you were told to do it? Man, that's crazy. Maybe you shouldn't go to regular prison. You should just go over to this other hospital place and get better.
Yeah.
Your brain's broken.
Your mind's all jumbled up. You're not going to prison because you heard voices.
You didn't know what you were doing, and you didn't know how bad you were doing it.
Yeah, you just heard a couple voices. You killed someone because of voices.
That's weird.
Go to the hospital for that.
We'll get you better, though.
Yeah, I'll give you an ice pack for that.
Maybe that's what they did. Put an ice pack on his brain. The Criminal Code Review Board manages the progression of NCRMD individuals, systematically increasing freedoms based on continuous clinical risk assessment with the ultimate goal of community reintegration. This process relies heavily on the principle of assessing whether the individual poses a, quote, significant threat to the safety of the public. Oh, buddy, I think he's pretty threatening.
Yeah. In May 2015, Li was granted initial passes to community group homes. I don't know if he should be around many people.
You're not done reading the paragraph.
In February 2016, Li legally changed his name to Will Lee Baker with L-E and not L-I.
Right.
Li legally is a tongue twister.
Yep.
And won the right to live independently, moving to a Winnipeg apartment.
Now he's in the public.
Now he's taking the place of Tim McLean by living in Winnipeg.
Nice. Good catch.
During this period, he remained subject to monitoring to ensure medication adherence. On February 10, 2017, the Manitoba Criminal Code Review Board ordered Will Baker be granted an absolute discharge.
So they did not look after this guy who diced up another guy 9 years before that. They were done. He was not under any kind of probation or anything like that. They're like, you're sorry, right? It's like, I don't know what I did. Oh, well, you're good.
Yeah, just take these pills every 2 hours.
But we're not going to monitor that anymore. You're good.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good. Mr. Will Baker, you're good.
William Baker.
This absolute discharge removed all legal obligations or monitoring restrictions pertaining to his independent living. The decision was supported by expert testimony emphasizing Baker's insight that the medication kept his illness at bay and that the weight of evidence did not substantiate that he posed a significant threat. This final discharge represents the Canadian legal system's commitment to the principle of capacity restoration. When medical evidence confirms that the mental illness is effectively controlled and the public risk mitigated, continued detention or supervision is deemed disproportionate and excessive, upholding the patient's right to liberty.
The gradual release process, culminating in the absolute discharge, sparked immense public and political opposition. Carol D. DeLay,
Sure.
Tim McLean's mother. So what happened to the last name McLean?
Different dad, bro.
Huh. So, okay.
Got it?
Was an outspoken critic of Li's freedom, pointing out the inherent vulnerability of the system. Once discharged, there is no legal way to ensure a patient continues to adhere to medication. creating a risk of catastrophic relapse due to the nature of schizophrenic insight loss. This tension highlights that the system, in upholding a patient's charter rights to liberty upon successful treatment, must accept a small residual risk in exchange for therapeutic success.
Just like Batman allows criminals to be released if the justice system, well, Batman doesn't allow it to happen. But in that whole world, the Joker is almost constantly being released because he's psychotic. And then he does the crime again, and he goes back. And then they're like, oh, well, he didn't know what he was doing. He can be released again. And then Batman's like, no, I'm going to put him back. You know, he just killed 6 people.
6 or 7 people.
Nice. To evaluate the possibility of Vince Li having suffered from Wendigo psychosis, a precise definition and cultural context for the syndrome must be established, differentiating it clearly from general psychosis. The Wendigo, or Wendigo, is a mythological creature and evil spirit originating from the folklore of the Algonquin-speaking indigenous peoples, particularly those from the Great Lakes region and extending into parts of central and western Canada, including the Cree, Ojibwa, and Saulteaux.
I bumped the scrolling thing.
Oh dear.
The creature is often described as an emaciated giant with a heart of ice, symbolizing insatiable greed and gluttony. See, you gotta be very hungry to go Wendigo.
Right, not just some voice in your head.
Yeah. Its cultural function is to reinforce the powerful taboo against human cannibalism. The name loosely translates to, quote, evil spirit that devours mankind. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Vince Li doesn't really devour
mankind.
He just nibbled.
Yep, I would agree with you on that. There was just some nibbling going on.
Yeah. In various narratives, a human transforms into a Wendigo when consumed by greed or by engaging in cannibalism itself. The mythological template dictates that Wendigo exists as a profound warning about the potential loss of one's humanity in dire circumstances, particularly in extreme environmental stress.
So starvation.
Yeah. And Swift Runner's defense, in Swift Runner's environmental stress, he did not have any food, and there was a lot of people around.
They looked oh so delicious. And he was stronger than everyone.
Didn't he eat his dog too?
Yeah, a couple of dogs. His mother or mother-in-law, I don't remember.
I think it was mother-in-law.
His wife and a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
In modern cross-cultural psychiatry, Wendigo psychosis is classified as a culture-bound syndrome, CBS. This classification signifies that the syndrome's manifestation, interpretation, and expression are tightly linked to the beliefs and environmental conditions specific to Algonquin peoples. The syndrome is characterized by paranoia, hallucinations, depression, homicidal thoughts, and an intense, compulsive, delusional wish to eat human flesh. Paradoxically, sufferers often experience a profound fear of becoming a Wendigo or a cannibal, yet feel an uncontrollable urge to consume human flesh, viewing others, even close family members, as cannibalistic prey. Historical records indicate that instances of WP were often correlated with periods of extreme scarcity, famine, and isolation during severe winters. This suggests that the psychosis often emerged as a psychological and cultural mechanism for managing the desperation induced by near-starvation conditions.
The legitimacy of WP as a distinct clinical entity is subject to ongoing debate in anthropology and psychology. Some experts maintain that WP may be an extreme manifestation of general psychosis triggered by starvation or environmental stress. Alternatively, some anthropologists contend that historical cases of WP were not truly psychiatric illnesses, but were socio-dynamic responses to extreme communal pressure. In times of famine, Accusations of cannibalism or theft may have been invented to justify the victim's ostracism or execution, often described as a witch hunt or a form of triage homicide. Triage homicide, utilized by stressed societies. Furthermore, the symptoms may be a folk elaboration of psychosis-like conditions resulting from nutritional deficiencies, such as low levels of certain metals, vitamins, or trace mineral elements.
Oligo elements.
Oligo elements.
Okay. So in Swift Runner's case, he mewed on his whole family. So then when he was caught, he's like, "Yeah, man, Wendigo. I'm gonna tell you."
Wendigo got me.
So he had already had a like a base for a condition that would. He had a narrative for the condition that would trigger such a thing. So if he ate his family, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I was hungry, so I guess the Wendigo got me."
They weren't strong enough to fend off me. And then the Wendigo. I was too hungry and weak to not go Wendigo.
So he already had an established point of reference for something like that. I think is what I want to say. Regardless of the legitimacy debate, the core conflict inherent in WP, the intense desire for cannibalism versus the profound cultural fear surrounding the Wendigo, is a culturally specific mechanism designed to manage and pathologize the desperation of survival distress. By framing the temptation to eat human flesh as external possession by a spirit, the culture maintains its vital taboos. The speculation linking Vince Li's act of Wendigo psychosis necessitates a rigorous comparison of the primary clinical data against the established criteria for the culture-bound syndrome. The most immediate point of similarity is the inclusion of cannibalism in both the documented Li incident and the definition of WP. However, this similarity is purely behavioral. The underlying motivation and delusional content exhibit critical divergence.
Li's psychosis involved executing a command from God to destroy an external threat, demon/alien. Li's motive was not to satisfy an internalized, hunger-driven craving for human flesh, which is the defining characteristic of WP. In forensic psychiatry, the motive defines the pathology. Li's motive was rooted in religious and paranoid delusion, a common pattern in paranoid schizophrenia worldwide. The act of consumption was secondary and symbolic, related to neutralizing the threat, rather than being the primary driving compulsion associated with Wendigo psychosis.
The most compelling argument against the WP speculation rests on cultural specificity. A fundamental requirement for diagnosing a culture-bound syndrome is that the patient must be embedded within the culture that defines, interprets, and sanctions the illness. Vincent Li, Will Baker, is a Chinese immigrant who immigrated to Canada in 2001. His psychosis drew on broad religious and contemporary themes, God, demons, aliens, not the specific mythology, language, or cosmology of the Algonquin people.
The location of the crime, Manitoba, is the only objective link to the Wendigo mythos. However, the presence of the crime in the region does not confer cultural manner of cause.
Etiology
upon the perpetrator. For instance, if the same act were committed by Li in his native China, the Wendigo comparison would be clinically irrelevant. This geographic association leads to a significant analytical error in public discourse, where the action, cannibalism, is improperly prioritized over the motive, the specific content of the delusion, when attempting to categorize the pathology.
Interesting. So if the attack happened in China, we wouldn't even be having a Wendigo conversation. Well, why not? Why do Wendigo have to be isolated in Native American areas?
Well, I don't know if Chinese know of the story of Wendigos.
Why does that matter?
Because I feel like it's more of a threat because more people know about it.
Does Russia have a version of Wendigo? Because they're that far above the equator. Russia, China, the colder parts. Is there a Russian Wendigo?
I don't know.
But it's the same kind of story as what I'm saying or asking, is that starvation due to extreme cold conditions would be the same in Canada as it could be in Russia or China or the Arctic, Norway, and stuff like that.
They probably have other superstitions, but I don't think they have specific Wendigo stories.
So it would be a different kind of psychosis, a Yeti psychosis.
Well, that's the Himalayas.
It's still frozen. People will still starve out there, is what I'm saying.
People don't live up there.
Yes, they do.
Well, not in the, all the way up there.
They go up and down all the time. The clinical determination must be that Li suffered from a severe acute episode of paranoid schizophrenia. Speculation that he briefly succumbed to Wendigo psychosis requires ignoring his cultural history, the specific established content of his psychosis, and the strict definition of a culture-bound syndrome. Consequently, the speculation is clinically untenable and serves primarily as a sensational, media-driven attempt to categorize an incomprehensible act of violence into an exotic but inappropriate cultural framework.
The severity and unique details of the Li case triggered a national debate regarding the NCRMD process, mental illness stigma, and the balance between civil liberties and the public safety, ultimately influencing Canadian legislative policy. The public discourse surrounding the Li case was characterized by overwhelming dramatic and distorted narratives. The media coverage emphasized the extreme brutality of the act, frequently reinforcing negative stereotypes that depict mentally ill persons as inherently dangerous, unpredictable, and criminal.
This sensationalism fueled an emotional response rooted in fear and vengeance, rather than an objective desire for clinical understanding or recognition of the successful rehabilitation, which I personally don't think he should have been totally free. Public advocates such as Chris Somerville of the Schizophrenia Society of Canada actively attempted to contextualize Li's behavior as a result of a severe, treatable medical condition, explaining that his post-treatment insight, remorse, and humility prove that the quote, characterization of him that is just not true of him, unquote, stemmed from psychosis. However, these efforts struggled against entrenched societal opposition and the memory of the grotesque violence.
The controversy surrounding Li's progressive steps toward freedom, especially the prospect of unmonitored community access, became a political catalyst. The persistent advocacy and opposition raised by Carol de Delay, who maintained that Li should be incarcerated for life, galvanized support for legislative change. In response, the Canadian government enacted the Not Criminally Responsible Reform Act, Bill C-54. This enactment significantly amended the mental disorder regime in the criminal code. The key provision of the act specifies that the safety of the public must now be the paramount consideration in the decision-making process for NCRMD cases.
Furthermore, Bill C-54 created the new statutory designation of high-risk accused. This designation applies to individuals whose NCRMD-related acts were, quote, of such a brutal nature as to indicate a risk of grave harm to the public, quote, unquote. High-risk accused individuals face severely restricted conditional releases, only permitted under narrow circumstances and requiring a mandatory public safety plan. The creation of the high-risk accused designation, driven by the severity of the Li case, fundamentally alters the philosophical balance of the NCRMD regime. By formally elevating public safety as the paramount concern, the legislation implies a shift toward institutional risk aversion, potentially resulting in longer, unnecessary detentions for future NCRMD individuals, regardless of their successful clinical progress.
The successful treatment and subsequent absolute discharge of Will Lee Baker, Vince Li, stands as a testament to the clinical effectiveness of Canada's forensic psychiatric system in managing high-risk mental illness, particularly when patients maintain strong adherence to necessary medication. It is crucial to note that forensic data consistently demonstrates that individuals found NCRMD have lower violent
Recidivism
rates than those released from correctional facilities, especially when their treatment is successful.
Successful treatment. It seems to me that's highly opinionated. I don't know if you can, would like 9 out of 10 psychiatrists say yes, he's good to go, but what about that last one? Be like, no, I don't think he's ready for the public yet. So that's good. Like majority rules, is that, I don't know if that's how they do it or what. Or was it just one doctor who was like, man, he is really good at all the things that he needs to be good at. He's going to be all right. Keep taking his medicine regularly, and he's fine. I don't know. The decision to grant Baker his absolute discharge adheres to the risk-need responsibility, R&R principle, a pillar of modern correctional psychology. R&R mandates that legal interventions must be proportionate to the assessed risk, recognizing that excessive intervention or detention disproportionate to the actual current clinical risk can paradoxically increase the rate of adverse events, including criminal recidivism. Li's discharge proved the R&R model's effectiveness in risk reduction. The paradoxical situation resulting from the case is that the successful outcome of the therapeutic model, Li's full recovery and release, led directly to the legislative reform, Bill C-54, designed to restrict that model for future patients. This demonstrates a failure of the political and public body to trust long-term clinical assessment over the short-term, visceral memory of a horrific crime.
The 2008 Greyhound tragedy was a singular event rooted in the catastrophic breakdown of Vincent Li Go Wendigo's mental health due to severe, untreated paranoid schizophrenia. The actions, including cannibalism and decapitation, were direct symptoms of a profoundly complex delusional architecture based on divine command and the necessity of destroying a perceived alien or demon.
The subsequent legal determination that Li was not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder was a rigorous application of Canadian forensic law, prioritizing the clinical fact of incapacitating delusion over the gravity of the offense. The systematic path to absolute discharge, culminating in the freedom of Will Lee Baker in 2017, affirmed the efficacy of psychiatric treatment in mitigating extreme risk, even against a backdrop of intense public scrutiny and opposition.
The inquiry into Wendigo psychosis, fueled by the cannibalistic act and the Canadian setting, is clinically invalid. The case fails the fundamental criteria for culture-bound syndrome, lacking the necessary cultural context, needs non-Algonquin heritage, and symptom content, the absence of a primary starvation-rooted compulsive craving for human flesh. Li's motive was the paranoid execution of an external divine command, a classic presentation of paranoid schizophrenia, not the internal, culturally defined possession associated with the Wendigo. While the comparison is academically provocative, it does not hold diagnostic merit.
Ultimately, the Li case stands as a seminal example of the collision between extreme psychotic violence and the constraints of a therapeutic justice system, resulting in the eventual legislative alteration of the NCRMD framework via Bill C-54, reflecting the enduring societal need to balance the rule of law with the imperative of public safety. So, he did it. He did the thing, and he didn't necessarily get away with it, but it was only 9 years later that he was free to go. So does that, I mean, you want to go down the voices in your head, the voice of God and all that stuff. So does that mean God was on his side? God told him to do the thing. He did the thing. And now the prosecutors and his ongoing treatment were also on God's side? They whispered to these people that were like, I told him to do the thing. He did the thing. So he should be let go. It was not punishment. You should not punish him for the thing I told him to do. God works in mysterious ways.
Yes, he does.
So, to answer the question, did Vince Li go Wendigo?
I don't think he did.
No. There's too many other things. And not just the cultural thing.
No, it's not just that.
So, a Chinese guy living in Canada, I don't think it necessarily means he can't go Wendigo.
But it doesn't give him good chances.
Right. So that's a check in the no box for that. But if he fully destroyed an entire person, fully consumed this person
Out of hunger,
then yeah, more of a Wendigo case.
but this was tedious. This was direct one person.
Right. And it was not starvation.
Nope.
It was murder. Straight up. He ended the person's life and did heinous things with his remains.
You put on a little bit of them.
Unbelievable. Well, there you go. That was pretty much a full-on, deep dive, true crime thing.
Yup.
There's a lot of true crime things we could possibly get into.
Yeah.
And some things I don't want to get into. Because it's awful. Maybe we will someday. Get a little bit more mature in yourself. Like there's the whole Megan's Law thing. And the Amber Alert. Why is there an Amber Alert? Why is there Megan's Law?
I'm pretty sure I know the story of why it's called Amber Alert.
Because of Amber?
Yeah.
Some of that stuff gets really, really dark. Maybe we'll get into it at some point. Or we'll spin off in a different kind of story. Maybe we'll do something like that. Only occasionally. Some of those things get real dark. Jeffrey Dahmer's whole story is incredibly dark. John Wayne Gacy stuff is awful. Yeah. Ed Gein stuff is awful.
Ted Bundy.
Yep. But there are some cases like this one that we could spin off on stuff. There is I've heard it a couple of different times from a couple of different podcasts. Actually, we won't get into it right now. I will think about it and I'll tell you when we're not recording and maybe we'll get into it. But it's true crime, but the lady lives and it was a horrific situation. And she talks to people who are survivors of horrific situations. It will tell her story. It's a good one. She survived. But anyway, question brought.
Question answered.